What's up, guys? Welcome to a new day. I'm Stephanie Ryder, and this is the 365 Shares podcast. It's February 4th, 2024, and today's topic is spiritual bypass. Before I get into what the Big Red Book has to say, I'll talk a little bit about my day. It was a really nice day. It was sunny and kind of warm. It wasn't something that he and I had really done together before. I wasn't sure if he'd be into it, but he was like super into it. And we just wandered around and listened to all the music and did some shopping and got some food and just had a really nice time. And tomorrow is the 5-year anniversary of our first date, which is super exciting. So we just spent a lot of time kind of thinking about how nice that the journey's been. And I asked him that question, that political question, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Which people are supposed to use to decide which president they want to vote for. And I asked him if he was better off than he was 4 years ago. And I don't know if he really knows. I think he is, but I told him that I definitely am. And then I had a really nice dinner, watched the Grammys with my friend Jane. She's so awesome. We had some good chats and just some girl hang time. So just all in all, a really nice day, very chill. I feel like I haven't done as many day-to-day personal updates in a minute. I played around and created a new cover for the podcast on Canva. I used a template that they provided and just tweaked the colors a little bit and the fonts. So I have a new podcast cover. I really like it. It's a couch with a spotlight over it. And I really like it because a couch feels very therapy to me, but the spotlight feels very interrogation. So I liked that kind of combination of putting myself on the couch, getting interrogated, spilling all the beans. And the process has just been really therapeutic for me so far. I find myself talking through things in the podcast that had been running around in my head, but I didn't really have a handle on what I was thinking or feeling or how I should handle it. And I'll just find myself saying something while I'm recording. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was the thing that I couldn't figure out, or that's what's been sticking in my brain about this problem. So it's been really nice to just talk through everything. Thanks to anyone who's listening now, in the future. Really appreciate you. And I don't spend a lot of time thinking about what I'm going to talk about ahead of time. I just kind of go. And that's the format of this podcast. I'm Steph, and this is my share. The Big Red Book says a spiritual bypass means that the person is attempting to avoid the pain that can come with working through the trauma and neglect from childhood. In some cases, the person attempts to jump ahead in the recovery process without going through the entire process. This path invariably fails or leads to dissatisfying results. The Strengthening My Recovery book talks about people attempting to get quick fixes for their problems, to look like they're better, to read a few self-help books and just fake it till they make it. And I do think there is value to that. If you are having trouble getting out of bed in the morning, you're so depressed or anxious, you can totally set little goals for yourself. When I was going through my separation from my ex-husband, I had insomnia so bad, and I would stay up half the night watching Archer. And then I was working from home, so it would take me most of the day to just sleep in and then get through enough of my anxiety to go outside and get a coffee. And there was a coffee shop a 5-minute walk from my condo, and they closed at 4. So I would just tell myself, all you have to do today is get to the coffee shop by 4. And that's probably also part of why I had insomnia, because I was drinking coffee at 4 p.m. But I would just set these little goals for myself of if you made it to the coffee shop, you did what you needed to do for the day. And then I would get to 5 or 6 p.m. and I would finally, my anxiety would subside a little bit so that I could start doing my job. And I was kind of a night shift worker for maybe 6 months at least, because that's just the way that my anxiety was going. So I do think there's an element of faking it till you make it, because you have to just do little things to get through whatever you're going through. But I also believe that we can't just put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. And if you're going to get through the serious traumatic events of your life, the only way out is in. You really have to face those things head on. It definitely helps to have the support of ACA, a 12-step program, a therapist, a team of therapists, other friends who are in recovery, fellow travelers. It's hard to do it alone. It's exhausting. It at times feels physically exhausting. During the years when I was doing my most intense psychotherapy, I did very light exercise. I would go for a walk. I would swim in the pool. And by swim, I just mean just do the most basic head above water, like swimming from one end of the pool to the other. So you're not going to have a ton of energy for everything else in your life while you're getting into this hard stuff and while you're working through your worst memories and traumas. But it is definitely worth it. I've done a lot of it. I continue to do more of it. And if you just want a quick fix and you're doing what it takes to get through the day, that's totally fine. There's no judgment. If you don't ever get to the place where you're able to face down your biggest fears, then that's just you. It's you. It's your journey. No judgment there either. But ACA thinks, and I have experienced, that the best way to really improve your life, find a permanent solution for the problems that continue to plague you over and over, is to get to the root of them. The affirmation for today is, on this day, I will have the courage to use the tools of the ACA program, especially the one that's hardest for most of us, reaching out to others for help. I've encountered a lot of people who feel that they are unique in their damage. I'm sure I have felt like this at times. I have heard lots of friends and partners and acquaintances and people in ACA say they think that nothing could fix them, no one could ever possibly understand them or what they've been through. And I totally hear that. But I also think that it's our ego's way of keeping us from doing the work. So if you feel like you're so messed up that nothing can ever fix you, if you're damaged beyond all repair, I know I've talked about this before, just hold some space for the possibility that your problems, while unique to you, and the details are unique to you, the time, the place, the events, the characters, hold space for the possibility that you are experiencing an archetype of trauma, an archetype of family dysfunction, an archetype of damage, because we all fit into these archetypes. You are the hero of your story, just like everyone is the hero of their own story. From experience of going to ACA, going to Al-Anon, going to suicide survivors meetings, going to therapy, I can tell you that the more I listen to people's shares, the more I resonate with them and the less alone I feel. And maybe I didn't have that person's experience, but I understand where their shame comes from. Or maybe I had a different upbringing, but I understand their trauma and the effects that it has. And sometimes it just feels good to connect with people. It feels good to listen to other people's stories because you feel human when they're exposing their humanity. And even when I don't want to share, I try to share because it just feels like part of the process. And it gives my fellow travelers a way to get to know me a little bit better, just like I get to know them. Often in ACA, people say, I didn't want to come today or I didn't want to share today, but that tells me that I needed to come today or I needed to share today because it's the times when we don't want to do something. That is the thing that we're really supposed to do or we really have to do. So just be mindful, think about it, give yourself grace, reach out for help, whether it's someone you know, whether it's an anonymous stranger. There is help for you out there, whatever you need. It exists.